Hello and thanks for joining us for today's video. We just want to remind you that we're still releasing new episodes of our podcast, Into the Killing. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and anywhere you find great podcasts. We also have a second channel called Paranormally Listed, where we feature paranormal stories like encounters with cryptids, hauntings, and UFO sightings. We'll have a link to that channel at the end of this video. Just before we get into today's video, I'm super excited to bring you a short word from our sponsor, Heroes of the Dark. Personally, I love Victoria-era horror stories, and aspects of those really come to life in the amazing strategic RPG, Heroes of the Dark. And it's available on iOS, Android, and PC. In Heroes of the Dark, there are three great races who are battling for global domination: vampires, werewolves, and humans. In order to rule the world, you need to train heroes from each race. There are several different ways to play, and all of them are a lot of fun. You can collect and strategically deploy your heroes in battle. At the same time, you can try to conquer the world with your guildmates. There is also an amazing PvP mode where you can take on other players in the game. The player versus environment mode is also incredibly entertaining because there are so many different enemies to take on. Both PvP and PvE are great ways to get resources to power up your heroes. I love the game for the first few minutes of playing it because it was really easy to get into. Plus, the graphics are outstanding and the characters are really cool. I personally love the werewolf characters. They look vicious and they seem like they could tear apart any enemy they encounter. In the game, your home base is a mansion which you upgrade. These upgrades will make your team stronger and even more fierce. Right now is a great time to get into Heroes of the Dark because they have a great offer for criminally listed viewers. If you scan the QR code or click on the link below this video, you'll get an amazing hero, a vampire, Countess Megla. So what are you waiting for? Check out Heroes of the Dark today. Number 3. Taisha Jackson. In the fall of 2012, Taisha Jackson lived in DeKalb County, Georgia with her mother, Hanifa Ray, her stepfather, Shelton Ray, and her 4 younger siblings. On November 12, 2012, Taisha was babysitting her 4 siblings. That afternoon, the neighbor across the road, Veronica Hillman, who also worked with Hanifa, called Hanifa at work. She had been watching the family's house and saw that Taisha had let a boy inside. Hanifa asked Hillman to get the boy to leave. Hillman went over and found the boy hiding in a closet. She then had the boy leave. A short time later, Taisha called Shelton. She told him that 2-year-old Sasha was missing. Sasha was Taisha's half-sister and Shelton's daughter. Sasha was known as a sassy and outgoing girl who often acted older than she actually was. She was also very protective of her loved ones. She was lovingly given the nickname Grandma. Taisha said that she thought that Hillman took Sasha. Shelton and Hanifa rushed home. The family, along with Hillman, searched for the missing 2-year-old. Hillman found Sasha in a wooded area adjacent to the family's house. She was lying on the ground, bleeding. Hillman called out to Shelton and Hanifa. Shelton picked up his 2-year-old daughter and then tried to rush her to the hospital. Shelton said that she died in his arms before they even left the neighborhood. Initially, Shelton and Hanifa thought that a dog had attacked Sasha, but the medical examiner determined that she had been stabbed 7 times in the chest with a kitchen knife. 13-year-old Taisha was brought to the police station and questioned. Initially, she said she had nothing to do with the murder. But later that night, she called her stepfather and confessed. She said she had ordered her other siblings to go upstairs. She took Sasha to the back door and grabbed a kitchen knife along the way. She stabbed Sasha 7 times outside, close to the back door. She then carried her to the wooded area and dumped the toddler. She came back home, changed her clothes, and washed up. She said she had not been in her right mind. She didn't give any other motive other than saying that she didn't want Sasha to say anything about the boy being in their house. A psychiatrist evaluated Tyesha and determined that she could be rehabilitated. Tyesha's lawyer said that her actions were the result of a brief mental break. In September 2013, Tyesha was offered a plea deal that would have given her 10 years in prison if she pleaded guilty to manslaughter. If she went to trial and was convicted of second-degree murder, she was looking at a mandatory 30-year sentence. She turned down the offer. In December 2013, she accepted a new plea deal. She was to serve 8 years in prison with 4 years of probation. Tyesha would have been released from prison around 2021 and will be on probation until 2025. Tyesha's mother and stepfather supported her during her criminal proceedings. They told her they loved her as she was being taken away to prison. Sheldon said he felt partially responsible for what happened. He thinks that they might have put too much pressure on the young teen girl. Sheldon urged parents to make sure their kids were not overwhelmed. Number 2. Kevin Pimentel. In spring 2015, 38-year-old Helen Caballero lived in a trailer park in Hudson, Florida with her 4 sons. Hudson is about 45 miles north of Tampa, Florida. Helen and the boy's father had divorced about 2 years earlier. The 4 boys were well behaved and played sports. Neither the police nor child welfare officials had ever been called to the family's home. Helen had to work 2 jobs to make ends meet and support her family. On the evening of March 25, 2015, she was working at one of her jobs. Her 3 youngest sons, 16-year-old Trevor Pimentel, 12-year-old Kevin Pimentel, and 6-year-old Brady Pimentel, were all left home to cook dinner for themselves. By all accounts, the evening was an ordinary one. 12-year-old Kevin started preparing fish sticks in the kitchen. He called out to his older brother, 16-year-old Trevor, to come and help him. Supposedly, there was some argument over the food. Kevin left the kitchen, and Trevor continued to prepare dinner. Suddenly, the sound of a gunshot shattered the quiet of the night. Trevor went to see what happened and found his 6-year-old brother, Brady, dead from a gunshot wound. Kevin was holding a .38 caliber handgun that his mother owned for protection. Kevin walked towards Trevor, and then Trevor pushed him. Kevin fired the gun at Trevor and shot him in the leg. Then Kevin turned the gun on himself and fatally shot himself. Trevor then called 911. Trevor was taken to the hospital and survived his wound. The sheriff's deputies were shocked by the scene. Later, at a press conference, the sheriff said that the deputies at the scene were scarred because of what they saw. The police looked through Kevin's computer files and journal for a motive, but they found nothing to explain why he killed his 6-year-old brother, shot his other brother, and then took his own life. Kevin was described as a quiet and highly intelligent kid who liked playing on his iPad. The boy's father, Lewis, thought that Kevin might have been jealous of Brady. After the divorce, Kevin pulled away from his father, and his father grew closer to Brady. But this is only speculation, and only Kevin knows why he did what he did on that fateful night. Number 1. Jane Shusko. Elmira is a small city in New York's southern tier. It's a short distance from the Pennsylvania border. In the summer of 1959, it was home to 46,000 people, including the Shusko family. Michael and Lillian Shusko had 10 children who ranged in age from 14 to 11 months old. On the night of July 11th, 1959, the eldest Shusko child, 14-year-old Jane, was sitting on the front porch with Lillian. Michael was working at a milk processing plant. The rest of the children were inside the house sleeping. Suddenly, Jane and Lillian heard a loud boom come from inside the house. A fire ripped through the main floor of the house within minutes. Jane and Lillian tried to get inside to help the children on the second floor, but they couldn't. A neighbor came to help, and he managed to get 13-year-old Catherine and 11-month-old Annette out safely. Tragically, the other 7 children couldn't be saved. The medical examiner determined that 12-year-old Michelle, 11-year-old Dolores, 9-year-old Laura, 8-year-old Donald, 6-year-old Patsy, 4-year-old Sarah, and 2-year-old Christine had all perished due to asphyxiation. Lily and Jane told the fire marshal about the loud boom, but the fire crew found no evidence of an explosion. They thought that the boom they heard came from canned goods and bottles bursting because of the intense heat. At first, the fire department couldn't figure out the source of the fire. But then, Jane admitted that she had started the fire. She said she threw a match onto some papers in the clothing closet on the main floor. The day before, she had set 2 other fires, but they didn't cause much damage. She couldn't explain why she had started the fire. She wasn't angry with anyone in her family and didn't hold a grudge against any of them. She then signed her 4-page confession. Many people who knew the family were shocked by Jane's actions. They thought she was hardworking and responsible. She often cared for her 9 siblings. But in hindsight, people remembered an odd incident. Jane had always been good at returning home from school on time. But months earlier, on November 3rd, 1958, Jane didn't return home. The next day, her parents reported her missing. Local radio stations broadcasted the news that Jane was missing. An unidentified woman heard the report and called the police. She said she saw a girl resembling Jane talking to a man in a car not far from the school. At 9:30 that evening, the family's phone rang. Michael answered it, and he heard a female voice say, "Hello," and then the caller hung up. Michael was sure it was his daughter Jane who had called. The next day, Jane was found at her friend's home. No one besides Jane has any idea if her 2-day escapade had anything to do with the fire. 14-year-old Jane was indicted on 7 counts of first-degree murder. Jane showed no remorse for her actions. The grand jury recommended that Jane should be considered for handling in children's court due to her age. The recommendation was later approved. Jane Shusko was committed to a state institution for treatment and rehabilitation. It's not known if Jane is still alive, and if she is alive, her whereabouts are unknown. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Please don't forget to check out our new channel, Paranormally Listed. There's a link on the screen now, and there's a link in the description box below this video. Well, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.